Alright. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. We're here with another episode of the Salt Mines. We delve into the emotional journey, sometimes nightmare, some would call it, of players playing StarCraft ladder. It's very competitive, and it's, you know, a lot of fun, except when it's not. And for a lot of players, that's when they're losing. Down here in the bottom right side of the map, we've got Dr. Zerg, the Zerg player, going up against the Terran Professor in the top left. We've already seen the Zerg cancel a lava because they messed their timing up on their Overlord, and the Terran didn't build an SCV for the first 20 seconds. So I can tell we're in a high-level StarCraft match, and those are my favorite because remember, guys, very rarely do you see the sort of insane and inane outbursts from the top of the ladder. But more often when you hang around there in the mid ladder, the low ladder, that's where you get some truly beautiful delusion. And that's what this show is all about. For those who haven't really kept up to date with the show, what are some of the topics we've covered in recent weeks? Well, if the enemy's race is OP, then they don't deserve the win and should leave. That's something we learned about a month ago. Also, I spit on your whole family tree. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I've got this whole list of, like, lessons that I get from the show, and I love reading back on it and just thinking about all the amazing takeaways. I've still yet to use that. Next time I lose to a pro gamer in a tournament, I'm going to throw that one out. I spit on your whole family tree. We also found out that Winter is a masterful and rather shameless salt miner who will write LOL and GG in pylons on the minimap. We've also found that some people pretend to balance wine while throwing matches to lower their MMR rather than just leaving the game at the start. Yeah, that was, I think, the strangest lesson in terms of human action and interaction and exactly like what the heck is going on in some of these players' minds for me. But I guess we can talk more about those lessons in a little bit, because right now Dr. Zerg is going for a 4 Zergling poke, 2 Zerglings there, another 2 coming out, and a very quick Roach Roar. And this looks like Lambo's 5 Roach build, which hits like a brick, and that barracks in the wall off, building Marines right now. So just to give you guys an idea of how tight Professor's build is, that Marine started building when the Reaper normally pops. It's 30 seconds late. This is like Florencio style opening, man. Where everything is quite late. Luckily, it's just a few Zerglings for now, but... Oh, builds an Overlord, cancels an Overlord. Oh my god, how many eggs is Dr. Zerg gonna cancel this game? The Roach Warren's done. They've got money, but they don't have any lava to build roaches. They've canceled 2 or 3 eggs this game. You don't get the lava back, guys. I know Zerg biology is kind of magical and insane, but once it turns into, from a little wriggly slug into a big egg cocoon, if you cancel that, it does just explode into blood and guts. You get the money back 100%, but you do not get the lava back. So it's really going to slow down the roach pressure, maybe give an opportunity for Professor to defend this. Professor is not building anything out of the factory, no bunker, no scout, and is just sitting on 1 base for now. So I don't know what Professor's game plan is, but it's not good. No scouting, no bunker, no expansion, and it's going to be a double... Okay, we're going to go 1 base, 2 port. I would imagine battle cruisers, you can't actually support double battle cruiser production off 1 base, but you can support more than 1 BC building at a time, so it's kind of like 1 starport's at 100% production, the other one's like 50%, and you can eventually get over there. Problem, you're not going to get there in time, are you? Fusion core starts up, the roaches are arriving. Even though this roach pressure is late, it's still going to get there. And I think SCVs are going to have to get pulled to defend this. This is going to be a huge issue. Dr. Zerg should be droning up behind it, and indeed is. Dr. Zerg's droning and building Overlords and injecting the main base. That is insane. For what appears to be a Silver League build from Professor, Dr. Zerg is coming in with some nice aggression. Roach Ravager Zergling coming in right now. We've got 5 Marines moving in from the right side. They do outrange the Roaches, and they dodge the Corrosive Bile. Well, color me impressed, but that Ravager is doing work across the wall. The Roach is hitting as well. Professor, what are you doing, dude? You gotta pull the boys. Oh, Professor's dead. I mean, surely this is just game over. I don't know how you can possibly survive this. 4 Roaches and a Ravager. I think we might have some Salt incoming, guys. And I think we know who it's going to be from. The SCVs are going to be forced to engage here. 4 Roaches and a Ravager, more than a match for that. The Bile, of course, thrown a bit too deep there. And the SCVs actually get a really nice surround. Professor coming in with a big juicy. Oh, that Corrosive Bile. It may have hit a Roach, but it took out like 4 SCVs. And you know what? That was about as good as the SCV fight could have gone. But at the end of the day, losing 16 SCVs is terrible. Dr. Zerg is droning up like crazy. Wait, Dr. Zerg didn't see the fusion core. Dr. Zerg did not see the fusion core, guys. So Dr. Zerg doesn't actually know about the battle cruisers. Oh my, wouldn't it be funny if it's Dr. Zerg who does the raging this game? Oh no, Evo Chamber is not what you need. I mean, the third hatchery is good, the droning is good, but desperately needs to go Lair, which is started, Spire, and start Spore Crawlers and Queens. If this first Battlecruiser teleports across the map, it's game over. Dr. Zerg did like a pretty decent opening build. It wasn't well executed necessarily, but like for this kind of league that I'm seeing between these two, I don't know the exact ranking. I can tell it's like, it's a good plan, you know, do some aggression and then bounce back behind it. Problem, that BC could just win the game right now. And Dr. Professor, after losing all those SCVs, should know that he's infinitely behind on economy. He's only on 9 SCVs, isn't rebuilding workers at all, and instead is going to rebuild the depot wall. It's just sitting there. What are you doing, Professor? Your second battlecruiser only just started. You can't wait for that. What? There's only 2 queens, guys. There's nothing that shoots up except 2 queens. It takes like 5 queens to beat a battlecruiser, and even that's a close fight unless they have a lot of transfuse. This is game over if that BC teleports over here. Like maybe not game over, but Dr. Zerg will need to build like 24 Spore Crawlers and ruin his own economy just to survive. But Professor, clearly all in, clearly, like when you lose all your economy, you have to counterattack with whatever army you can get as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they're going to be way ahead. But Professor's like, no, no, no. I need to re-wall my base. Oh, my lord. The decision-making is so bad. Spire is on the way. If he lets the Spire finish and Corruptors get out, they hard counter battle cruisers, and they'll absolutely smash. We've also got a Roach Warren making Roach speed, Ling speed, +1 melee, a 4th gas going down, triple the economy literally in terms of workers. Professor's finally got the 2 BCs out. Are you serious? You're gonna walk across the map? Oh my god, this is so bad. Did not even teleport across the map. Professor is like, yeah, this is what I normally do because I want to teleport them home to preserve the BC count. It's like, you realize you're on 1 base, right? Preserving your battlecruiser count is not important. Killing your opponent before they get the counter is important. If it was a Terran, you have to get in there and get rid of the starport. Zerg, you need to kill the Spire. Protoss, you need to kill like the Stargate and depower the gateways. This is absolutely what you're going to do. And Professor's just like, no, I'm going to show my battlecruisers coming across the map, give you a few minutes to mass Spore Crawlers and all that sort of stuff. No spores in the main, only 1 going down. That 3rd base, and none of the queens coming together yet. This could still do some pretty big damage for Professor, but since Corruptors have already started and you're on 15 workers behind it, pretty big damage, pretty good damage isn't enough. You need to literally kill the opponent. He changes targets to the other Spore Crawler. Professor doing negative micro there. Oh my god, he got the Spore to Reddit points and then changed targets, letting it get about 6 more Spore Crawler shots off, wounding that battlecruiser. We've got 1 more BC starting behind this, as well as unupgraded Marines and depots building to reinforce the wall off. But yeah, even killing the 3rd base, I mean, this is just an absolute disaster, man. Disaster piece theater. It's 100% Professor who's going to be angry, because it's always the player who plays like a nincompoop, right? Let's be real, guys. Anger, rage in StarCraft and competitive activities almost always comes from our own failures, right? It's our ego trying to reflect that shame off of ourselves onto our opponent. We're going to try and drop mules and fight this, but that is no way, man. Oh my god, not even using Yamato! You're going to lose the PC before you can even Yamato. What are you doing, Professor? And then let me guess, Professor Yamato's the low hit point corruptor? He does! He does it in the low hit point corruptor rather than the full life one. Oh my god, negative micro times 1,000. I'm sorry for laughing at you, Professor, but I can't help because like I could see bad decisions being made, and I can already sense the impending lack of the ability to take responsibility for them and go, you, Zerg, is unfair. You just attack with some roaches, you A-move them. Still my favorite thing, which I even go to when I'm angry as well. I go, oh, he just A-moved me, right? Oh, he's not though. He's going for the hacks. Professor says, nice hack, noober. So sad, you have to cheat to win. Noober. I've heard this a few more times lately, guys. I like goober as a word, calling someone a goober, but calling someone a noober is so freaking dumb. So sad you have to cheat to win. Shows you have no real skill. So sad. How did I hack? Says Dr. Zug. You mean the part where I did like a roach pressure? And then you showed me your beasties and I made things that shoot up? Noober? So remember, guys, when your opponent's accusing you of hacking and you ask them how, they're usually going to have a very reasonable follow-up to that. They'd be like, whoa, I've played over 21,000 games. I know the hack when I see it. Wow. Okay, let me, I think as someone who's experienced in this show, guys, I've cast like over 30 episodes. I think we know what this means. Professor in those 21,000 games, when they lose, the opponent's hacking, and when they win, they're not. I'm going out on a limb. That's the pattern I think they've identified. You guys let me know in the comments if you agree or if there's a different tell. Dr. Zerg's like, oh yes, clearly I'm hacking. Don't be such a noober. Wow, yep, you're almost like a pro. You can just detect these hackers so well. Dr. Zerg here is entertaining the nincompoop that they're playing against. For some reason, Professor's still in the game. I think the lack of calling it quits when the game's over and letting their rage build and stew, it's like that lack of self-control to just like, hey, this is going bad for me, let's make a different life decision. I feel like the people who rage in video games a lot are the people who steer the car towards the big pole on the side of the road. You know, they see it coming and they just turn into it. They know they're making bad decisions, but they keep doing it. If I hacked, the game would be over at 2 minutes. No challenging that, noober. Now, the only way you could kill them in 2 minutes, of course, would be, what, like 12 pool, drone pool? Maybe, or a worker rush? But even then, how does hacks help you do a fastest cheese in the world? That doesn't make any sense at all, Professor. Cheese allows you, or hacks, sorry, allow you to counter your opponent's strategy, not to just do a blind all-in. But that's okay. If reasonable thoughts and analyses is what we'd be talking about, you might not be going for a 2-port BC build on one base, missing your first 2 SCVs at the start, and then basically after taking massive damage, not even realize that there's a little bit of thing called urgency when it comes to attacking with battle cruisers. Rather than sitting there and waiting an extra 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to get that BC across the map. I'm going to open the replay at the end, guys. I really need to see the exact window of time from when the first BC popped to when the BCs actually arrived. Because remember, he could have teleported it immediately. And I'm thinking it might even be 3 minutes extra he gave the Zerg to prepare, which is insane. In StarCraft terms, 3 minutes is an eternity. That's literally 1.5 times as long as it would take Professor to beat opponents if he was low enough to map hack, if he was a bit more of a noober. Oh my god, your battle cruiser shoots up. Wow, you're hacking, says Zerg. Trying to, of course, point out the inane depravity and ridiculousness of what Professor's saying. Professor, of course, going to show an ounce of self-awareness. Oh, right, no, just kidding. Now you lose your account for hacking, noober. So sad for you. Now we both know you really can't beat me. So sad. Remember, guys, if you keep repeating something to someone, they will believe it eventually. This only actually works if you're arguing with a literal ogre. But yeah, try it on the ladder. Just keep repeating it over and over. You're a noober, you cheat, you're a noober. Ha, yes, and then you summarize the discussion, like what you've both learned from me. Like, you know you couldn't beat me. That's good. We know that. Haha. Okay, so checking out the replay, guys. The first battle cruiser pops out at 5 minutes 19. It can teleport in. It's in the base latest 5:25, right? Now let's look when the BCs actually hit. Almost 2 entire minutes later is when the BCs finally arrive in the third base. And this is also after announcing that they're coming by attacking overlords on the map as well at 7 minutes 13. Almost 2 minutes extra, which is longer than it takes a Spire to finish and get a Corruptor halfway built. You might be at fault for losing this one, Professor. It might not be map hacks. Maybe not. 9 SCV battle cruiser. You should probably have a bit of urgency about getting across the map, mate. All right, well, that was a good way to start us off. Let's get into the next one. Up in the top. Up in the top right, starting things off very quickly, we've got Cheese Monster saying, "Can't you read, you runt?" For those who don't know, obviously some words going to be a little bit not allowed in the you know, without us getting demonetized or anything like that. We're gonna be careful around that. Make sure we don't say certain words, use placeholder words instead. But Cheese Monster might be Australian potentially, using it as an insult, not such an Australian thing to do, right? We call our mates runts, and we call runts mates. We just say it a bit more aggressively, mate. I don't know what the context is either. Can't you read, you runt? Runt? Question mark. Now I don't know, because in the email with this one, apparently there was no context on if they'd played before or anything like that. I've got my little info packet I get from Who Sorts the Replay, and it says no context on what the background is. I don't know if they played before or what, but it just starts off with that apparently. Whoa! Sold to you, the smiley face. Cheeseman says that's a no then, and brings out yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word or not. For those who don't know, that is a word which originally, I believe was just like a weird kind of word that I think it started with American soldiers. Anyways, basically these days is just the most derogatory word for anyone of Asian descent that you can come up with. Yeah, hook. I guess we could say hook. Oh, hopefully we don't have that word too much. But yeah, just kind of throws a dart at the board. Now I have noticed there is like a cast of StarCraft players and gamers in general, who basically are usually this is stereotyping. So this is my impression, and it's a stereotype. It's not accurate for everyone. But I've noticed the pattern. You guys tell me if you... It feels like there's people that kind of sound... They have like a sort of trailer park way of speaking. And they when they lose games, they tend to assume that their opponent is Asian. And therefore, that's an insult they can use against them. And in StarCraft, especially when someone's better, you know, than people at games, there's a certain set of people who go, well, you just play... You know, and it kind of goes back to the try-hard... You're a tryhard. You work harder than me. Well, I have a girlfriend. I'm too busy having sex. You know, you're not. That's why you're better than me at the video game. But it's also got like the racist undertone as well. Like, well, you're Asian, so therefore you've got nothing better to do than play video games and do your math homework or something. You know, like. So it seems like Cheese Monster's a real stand-up cool dude. Says GG F off. What? After what? Killing an SCV? You're proud of killing an SCV? Is going 3 racks on 1 base, which has been scouted. Salty you. He's going Barracks Factory Starport. Man, I love the Cheese Monster's already making it hard for me to like not get this video demonetized. No, I'm both casting the game and running a YouTube challenge with all their new rules. They did ease off some of the rules, but I know that the C-bomb is a word that they're very strict on, unfortunately. Marines here gonna have a bit of an issue. Oh, Reaper does go down. Are we gonna gloat? Are you gonna gloat, Cheese Monster? Yeah, take that, you bitch. Something like... No, he doesn't say anything. Gets a Reaper kill, doesn't say anything. So for those who don't know... Oh, there we go. God, you're a Fajot loser. Oh my lord, wow. Cheese Monster's just like all of the low tier, really generic insults. Just really like... There is nothing unique or interesting. No underhuman... no, I spit on your whole family tree. It's just like spamming generic insults. It kind of reminds me of the chick that keeps saying bitch in Bullet Train. And you're like, why does she keep saying bitch every second word? Anyways, bunkers coming up. The Marines will get inside, but that's a lot of Marines. You gotta get inside. Get inside, Salty. Salty, get inside. You don't want to lose your firepower, mate. Oh no. Salty loses a Marine, but oh, luckily a tank on the high ground says, yeah, okay, I'll lose the bunker. But have fun saying hello to my big old Crucio shot cannon. Is it just me, or was it called a different name in StarCraft? I always remember Arclight cannon. I don't know, maybe that's from a different game. I swear I've talked about this many times before. Anyways, Salty U's going to do a Liberator Harass. Great way of dealing with someone who's doing a terrible build. Cheese Monster's only now expanding. Have we cast Cheese Monster before? This seems really bad, this build. 2 on gas only, long distance mining, really late commence on it. Wait, wasn't that the guy that was purposefully downranking? What was that guy's name? We looked at his profile afterwards, and he kept saying like, oh, everything that's not Terran is Imbo, and always did this like weird 1 base mass marine. This is not quite that, but it's kind of like shades of that build where you're like looking at it and you're like, well, this is really bad. Do you not know what add-ons are? Liberator's going to come in from behind the mineral line. I like that Salty U is doing one of the most frustrating pressures to deal with. There's a lot of Marines here, but Cheese Monster is very slow to deal with it. Let's check out Cheese Monster's control groups. Wait, seriously? We're just going to sit... What are you doing? The Marines are moving behind the natural, but he's like, oh yeah, the Liberator's going to move down here. I've got to anticipate it. It's like, no, it's just going to keep denying your resources. Oh my lord. Cheese Monster's getting wrecked, man. That Liberator is doing massive damage. But I think Salty might be a bit nervous running into such a weird play because the commencement is super late. The SCV production's been slow. On the other hand, Salty's defense has been stellar. It's sending Marines to check for the corners. And I think this is wise. If your opponent's talking shit to you, if they're talking smack, they're being idiots, they're kind of cheesing you and doing weird stuff, check the corners. Have safety precautions, tanks on the high ground, that sort of stuff. You know, tank in the main base in case you get dropped. And just play like really slowly and methodically. And don't leave them any openings to their silly strategies. And that seems to be the way to do it. Cheese Monster is just like, you're a fucking pathetic runt, mate. You're a pathetic runt. And Salty's just not really been responding at all, which is the way to play it, right? I saw a comment on one of my, I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago, and someone was like, you know, I get really thrown off when people talk smack to me, and this show just reminds me, like, if you these people are crazy, and like, number one, you shouldn't listen to them. Number two, if you can just zone them out and keep playing the game, you will always win. Because usually when someone's talking crap, they are not a very good player. And Cheese Monster, case in point, only 1 worker on this gas, 2 on that, 2 on these 2 gases, no orbital command centers, only now builds a tech lab, hasn't built a single reactor, is making a tank and then a widow mine out of the tech lab barracks. Like, this is awful play. You know, none of the things that make a build efficient are there. Meanwhile, we're starting to get Salty set up. Salty's still down on workers, but dropping mules to help make up for that. The second orbital's making, should be going double upgrade soon, and has 3 barracks, a factory, and a starport. The only problem is the marine production and the upgrades are a little slow here for Salty, but you can tell they're so turtling up and focused on tanks that they're going to be okay. Oh man, I'm still kind of surprised that Cheese Monster randomly pulled out the hook word, you know, the Asian slur. That's one, man. I always think of that because I think I'd heard it in like Vietnam War movies, right? I think is where I'd heard it. It's how I knew of it as a young'un. Because you don't really hear anyone say that. It's pretty rare these days in Australia. But I remember some of my mates in high school, they used to play basketball, and sometimes they'd run into some teams that were a little bit rough in their league, in their competition. And I remember, so one of my mates was kind of white, many generations born and bred, and pretty much the entire rest of the team, I think, was all kind of immigrant parents, all of Asian descent, right? So whole group of Asian guys, 1 white guy, and they're playing this team. And so this is my white mate telling me right after the match. He's like, dude, the craziest thing happened. So we're playing, and they just keep calling these dickheads keep calling all of us keep calling them hooks. You know, they keep calling them, and I was like, what the hell? Like, that's crazy, like offensive. Like, you know, that's like the word you go to when you're really like trying to be a massive dick. And he's like, but it's so weird. He's like, none of the guys were responding. He's like, I was like, what the hell? Normally, like, these guys are ready to throw down over anything, but like they just were taking it, and they were just ignoring them. And he's like, you know, they get to quarter time or whatever at the end of the first quarter, and he's like, guys, what the hell, man? Like, you can't just like let them say that stuff. Aren't you guys like offended? And all of them were like, yeah, wait, they keep saying that hook word. What's that mean? And he was like, wait, you guys don't know? He's like, that's like the worst racist word for an Asian person there is, man. And they were like, oh, really? Immediately in the next quarter, they kept calling him it, and they got in a giant fight. It's just kind of funny because like it's like these guys were trying to be as offensive as possible, and it was like kind of like an outdated word almost no one uses these days. They didn't even know what it meant, so they weren't even offended until my mate tells them, he's like, guys, that's kind of offensive. Those guys are being super racist. And they're like, oh, okay, all right, we'll fight now. It's funny times. But yeah, definitely something you don't hear much these days, you know. If I do hear it, it's going to be an old kind of whiner, you know, a drunk guy on public transport starts shouting randomly about people to go back to their own country. That's where you normally expect that sort of language. So it's kind of wild to hear it out here on the StarCraft ladder. But then again, let's be real. There is a bunch of people who get very negative gaming. They can't handle losing, and they basically just look for the most offensive word they can. How many N words with hard R's have we had dropped during this show? Like, it's wild. And you know there are people that would never be saying that in real life as well. Never, you know, out of fear, number one, but also probably because, I mean, why would you be trying to, like, be that hateful? But the thing is, there's this thing, it's like, the most painful thing is not someone calling you names, right? It's self-disgust. And that's what I think these players feel when they're playing bad StarCraft games and they're making these terrible mistakes over and over again. And it's just facing their own kind of shortcomings is so painful. I think that's why they go to these words. I think that's why they're just like, oh, this is the word you're really not meant to say. Quick, let's say it. Nice drop in the back from Salty, you. Oh, I think Cheese Monster's gonna have something to say. Oh, Salty clicked on the command center for a bit there. Maybe not the best move there. Oh, and then clicked on the Marines. I don't think Salty killed any SCVs, or very few. Oh, Salty could have killed a lot more if they just A-moved, I think. But despite that, Cheese Monster defended kind of okay, surprisingly. Might actually fix the gas mining as well as a result. Nope, just puts back on minerals, doesn't put back on gas. It is also taking a corner base. We talked about dodgy players and corner bases, but upgrade-wise, only +1 is done. Still very bad production, guys. 3 barracks with only 1 reactor, 1 factory, so terrible production. 46 workers, but there's only 45 for Salty. Salty's still, like, it's good tank count for Salty, 7 versus 3. But Salty's getting amazing bio upgrades and double armory, but still only has 3 barracks as well. This has got to be... I'm thinking this is... I'm going to say this is, like, low plat, right? I don't think it's going to be above low plat. Just because, like, the going so heavy into all the bio upgrade investment, but then not actually building lots of Marines is a big tell, right? You guys know I rage. Because if you're going to 3 or 4 bases, you don't even have 2 base production yet, which is 5 barracks. It's like, it hurts my soul, man. High-sec auto tracking's on the way. Cheese Monster getting the extra range for the missile turrets. Super important upgrade. And he's going speed Banshees and is building 4 starports with 1 SCV, guys. 4 is... Amazing. All right, so we're going to go mass Banshee. The mass Marine 3 racks at the start didn't work, so now we're going to go mass speed Banshee and just basically hope that Salty can't handle it. There is a very high correlation between players who talk smack in video games and insult their opponents and doing silly strategies that are, number one, out of the box, so the opponent's not used to dealing with it, but also just kind of a little frustrating to deal with. Something like, here's a bunch of Marines, deal with that. Here's a bunch of Banshees, run in, kill a base, run away, you know, and run around in circles. But they almost always have jackal follow-up, right? They have literally no backup at all behind that. And if you could just, like, not get thrown off and tilted by it, that's the big thing. Because part of the way these sort of strategies work is if you get upset about the words they're saying to you, and then you realize, oh God, Banshees are coming in. Whoa. And there's like a mixture of, I don't want to lose to this opponent, but also I'm not sure how to deal with this thing. I've never seen it before. And they're looking for you to panic, basically, in that moment. They want your life to flash before your eyes, because no one ever wants to lose to the douchebag on the ladder who's trying to just throw out insults the whole time. The guy that can't win in a straight-up match, you know, the player that has to just shit-talk the whole time to try and distract their opponent. These are the people who, if you play Monopoly with them, you basically need an armed guard guarding the bloody box with all the money in it, because you know they've got those sticky fingers that are going to reach in there. They're incapable of trying to win in a fair way. Now that actually brings up a funny point, since this game's gone to a bit of a lull before these Banshees get going, and you know Salty's just playing super turtly. Oh, Salty sees 3 starports. Salty's been scanning a lot, actually, so Salty knows it's some sort of mass air. Should be building lots of Vikings, I would imagine. It's going to be going... what are we building? Salty's not really producing right now. He's going for a mixture of armor and attack upgrades. He's got 3-3 for the bio, but there's only 20 Marines. Oh my God, Salty. If you ever watch this game, please choose mech or bio. Don't do, because you're basically playing mech. All your money's going to tanks, Vikings, but for some reason you're spending thousands of resources upgrading a handful of Marines that don't serve a function. You could have 1 factory, maybe a second one, and 1 starport building tanks and Vikings with your Marines if you're going to do this, but please get up to 5 or 8 barracks much earlier and make more Marines. BCs and Vikings coming in, so Salty's got a lot of anti-air. These Marines are going to get this base. The Banshees don't want to show themselves right now. Ooh! And the Planetary finishes in front of that base, but a little bit too late. And these Marines will come over. Cheese Monster's going to stim on that, trying to pick up, but... whoa, barely gets the drop out. Not too bad. Actually going to find a base in the top left as well. Oh, no. Oh, does see it. Okay, let's see if Salty actually notices that one. Probably you'll see it on the minimap at some point and go, wait a second, what the hell's going on over here? Down here, tanks and Vikings are spread across these bases. I'm a little far from my microphone. Hopefully my audio levels have been okay. F off, you loser runt. Cheese Monster's back at it. Not happy about losing the command center and the one that was building. Oh my God, these turrets are the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Guys, so he's trying to build a ring to zone out the edge. That makes sense if this is your front base, except there's a base here. Why would you need turrets all ringing this edge and then also ringing this edge? They have to fly through this base to get to the other one. Then again, bad turret placement, not something that surprises me with everything else Cheese Monster's doing. And also, once again, queuing 5 missile turrets with a single SCV. My lord. That just basically ties up 500 minerals in escrow, guys. That's putting that money, you know, that's not even putting it in a high yield savings account. That's just sitting in your bank account, losing your money to inflation and not getting those dividends, man. The Marine drop goes back to the top. Unfortunately, the missile turret will one-shot that. Medevac has an armor, I guess. Okay, took 2 shots. Shh. Quiet comment section. Banshees are going to come in. There's a lot of missile turrets across this base. Banshees do crazy damage, though. The Vikings are coming, though. There's Marines running down the bottom. They're going to deny that base. The Widowmine already stopped it from being taken. Oh, quite a few Banshees go down. Gets a command center, gets a tank, gets a few turrets. The Salty's got 75 workers and has 3 tanks there, which should at least make it hard for those Marines to continue north. Are they going to try it? So Cheese Monster's like, I have mass Banshees on one side, mass Marines on the other side. You can tell there's a real sense of finesse in the way this army's being controlled. Cheese Monster has only one army group, which has these 6 Banshees on it, which are not going to decloak, by the way, because Cheese Monster probably doesn't know there's a button you can press to decloak and save the energy. That would be a bit too high level. And just Marines and Banshees, like, it's like, I don't know how to move tanks around the map. I don't know how to make anything else. Leave, you runt, leave! Remember, guys, if you keep telling your opponent to leave, it may actually work against you. Now, if you're crushing them, you feel like you're doing massive damage your way ahead, go for it. Because then you can actually make them feel bad, right? So punching down on someone when you're beating them, like when you go leave, like as you're beating them, it has more impact. But when they're blocking your moves, you're a little bit flaccid. It's not the most effective. Like, get out, haha. It has a bit more impact when it's backed up by the reality of the situation. So you can get someone to panic a little bit, get a bit upset. But there's mass turret everywhere, man. These Banshees aren't going to find much. They're going to have to fight a lot of missile turrets to get in. And there's so many Vikings out. There's 20 Vikings and 2 BCs. They can take out 2 turrets, 1 siege tank. Ooh, Salty didn't lift the other command center. Come on, Salty, lift. Okay, mass repair, I guess that works. Vikings coming in with the scan. Oh, why aren't you just running away? Why are you stopping to shoot? Cheese Monster's that guy who's literally caught with his hand in the till. The shop owner pulls out a shotgun and is like, put it down. And he's like, and he's both like reaching for his own gun and also trying to take more money and put it in his pocket. And I'm like, I think there's only one move here, which is like run or put your friggin', just drop and put your hands up. Fuck your shit, run. You're effing pathetic, man. You're effing pathetic. The guy who's literally just trying to A-move Marines and Banshees around the map and hoping his opponent falls apart. And by the way, these Marines are +1, 18 minutes into the game. This is like almost Florencio level of mass Marine run by. It is not good. A few Marines are going to split into that base. The rest are going to run in here. You could find some good damage, actually. Salty's out of position. Uh-oh. Salty has a tank up there, but not much else. Oh, wait. Oh, there's a tank on the high ground. The tank on the high ground is Slaughter and gets a bunch of shots off. Oh my god, this tank as well. Oh my god, he's just standing there. Cheese Monster, what are you doing? He's manually targeting missile turrets to try and clear the way for the Banshees on the next wave. He could have just ran up, killed the tank, and done so much more. He's not even going to kill the tank. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, 16 kill tank, 10 kill tank. This is so bad. Oh, mass BCs. There's only 5. F, you're a runt. You're a runt. Why are you making the unit that beats me? I love it. I love the lack of self-awareness when someone's making 5 Starport Banshee, their opponent makes things that shoot up, and they're like, oh, you would do that, wouldn't you? Disgusting. Disgusting. You know, this is the person who murders, looking down on the person who got caught for burglary. He's like, what? Disgusting, you steal from hard-working shop owners. You know, they work to build a business. You're just gonna take their hard-earned money? I'm like, wait, you're judging me? You killed a guy because he said something to you. He's like, yeah, but he had it coming. And you're like, what? He's like, you took people's hard-earned money. That's an entirely different story. You're a bad person. Cheese Monster having the self-awareness that just makes us kind of drop our jaw and go, oh, that's special. So you're a bit of a specimen, aren't you, mate? Ooh, the Marines could find the Vikings and do well. The Vikings do have +2 armor. Makes them a little bit tankier, but careful there, Salty. Watch out, mate. Feel like 1 or 2 BCs could probably take this out. Vikings, oh man, landing Vikings on Marines doesn't feel good. +2 armor, BC apparently doesn't care about +1 Marines. Oh, they get 1 battle cruiser finally, but that was like 25 Marines or something. Banshee's coming down the south. Salty is re-expanding to these bases. Salty's economy kind of sucks, but having taken out all the economy of the opponent who's doing, there's just no solid army. For Cheese Monster, it's just Marines and Banshees trying to run around the opponent's army, avoid them, and do harassment run-bys. And when you've shown all game long, just grabbing units and trying to throw them where your opponent isn't ready, you know what? They can build turrets. They can leave tanks. That's exactly what they've done. And if your whole style is countered by them just leaving tanks and turrets everywhere, you might want to learn a follow-up that actually takes advantage of that. This is what we call the strategy of StarCraft, right? You force your opponent to go a certain response, and then you take advantage of that response, like, right? You're like, oh, he's got turrets everywhere, and he's kind of turtled up. Cool, I'm just going to get a solid marine tank army and go siege a base and kill it. And, you know, do the standard thing, rather than relying on surprise run-bys. But Cheese Monster is like, well, I just keep doing the same move over and over again, and I expect different results. It's the literal definition of being a high-performance Terran. Like, hello? I'm a high-value Terran, a high-performance. You guys want to subscribe? You can buy my program on also how to become a high-status Terran and how to get all the bitches in the MMR. All the MMR will be lapping at your feet, coming. They'll be begging for it. You know, just buy my package. I'm an alpha Terran. I'm really cool. Much like many people on the internet trying to sell how cool they are as people. Maybe it's a Sigma Terran, they might say. Another brand of the same poo-poo. But yeah, Salty's basically just cleaning things up, mopping it up, and I'm looking forward to the final rage from Cheese Monster, because Cheese Monster's got a base barely mining, running around with these flaccid banshees, trying to find something, and of course not succeeding. Salty keeps kind of scanning and going, yeah, you don't have any bases. I got this one, mass turret. I got this one, planetary mass turret. I got this one. I get to take this one at the bottom. The units are spread everywhere. Salty's doing a really good job of just sweeping this up. You know, when you're playing someone who's just doing filthy run-by games, you're gonna be a vacuum cleaner. Just go back and forth line by line and just seal up every area where they can get in. And they're not going to be able to do anything. Like, these Marines and Banshees are going to run down the bottom and go, oh, there's BCs. They'll run back to the top. Oh, there's Vikings. And then they're just going to go, well, this is just so silly. I mean, you're so pathetic. Why would you, as a pathetic run, defend my attacks? Such a good reminder as well that, you know, honestly, any competitive game, actually, that's a pretty good Marine run by there. The Vikings landing very slowly on that, but the BCs and the Marauders will clean up. Anytime you're just playing to make your opponent feel bad and to, like, try and put yourself above them and get that, like, oh, I'm so good. Anytime you're trying to pump your ego up in competition, it's like going to the casino because you're a good gambler. Like, it's like there's people who I know who gamble and they know that they're always going to lose more than they win. But I think Cheese Monster is one of these people who legitimately thinks, like, I'm better than everyone else. You, I shouldn't say it. You hook, loser, runt. I allowed it. That is all. You effing dog. That's it. Wow. Yep, I mean, that's about what we expected, right? Just repeating the same insults. Cheese Monster did not show an ounce of originality at all here. It's just repeating the same really low-tier insults. Add a dog at the end. Super sad, Cheese Monster. This was very unimpressive. I'm rating the originality and the ability to get a rise out of your opponent here at a 1 out of 10. Hold that thought, guys. We've also got some in-game, some post-game chatter right after the game. You effing piece of... I'm imagining shit. Uninstall, you effing dog. Cheese Monster drops the smile. He says, eat rat poison. Lots of it. And then goes for the you effing yellow-skinned loser runt. Wow. So basically just leveling up the exact same lame insult. It doesn't even know who the opponent is. It is just like... The funny thing is, like, how many people out there have had racial insults of not their race thrown at them? Because, like... It's like throwing a bloody dart blindfolded, right? I don't understand the whole let's use racial insults and hope it lands. Like, how often does that actually work? It's so dumb. Anyways, I mean, trying to understand these people, I think at this point we've learned, is really more than anything us kind of tasting insanity and going, tastes really weird. Let's not taste too much of that. I hope you guys enjoyed us being back here with the Salt Mines, though. Please, if you have any weird interactions, send your replays in and click on some of these other games up here on the screen if you want to see other people have a little bit of a sad cry when the game doesn't go their way. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Stay positive. Remember, most people out there on the ladder are awesome, and have a good one. GG, well played. Goodbye and good night.